Hello and welcome to Does It Resonate With You? We have another special guest today. I'm so excited. Brand new to the show, brand new to the channel, actually a brand new friend. And John, you might notice, is not in his usual fuchsia attire. He's actually in another location near the water, which I think is especially appropriate for this conversation today. So I would love for you to help us welcome and welcome Katherine Flynn. She is the Channeled Source is the name of her YouTube channel, and she works with the Druids and she channels the Druids. So the work on her channel is actually Ask the Druids, which I think is fascinating. Yeah. So we're gonna have a little bit of conversation, and we're gonna get a little opportunity to see her do her stuff and have a little bit of a conversation with the Druids. And I'm just going to tell you now, John, with all you and your good questions, I do have one I want to squeeze in. So
you better go first then, Angie, because I'll take
first. All right. So, and today we are going to focus on the elements. For me, and I believe the Druids, it's the 5 elements, right? Yes. Fire, air, water, earth, and ether, which, if you've been around this channel at all, or you've been in any of my meditations, you know that my very favorite is ether. So, and I did that before I even knew that I was connected to the Druids. So anyway, without further ado, Katie, why don't you tell us a little bit about kind of how did you figure out this was something that you could do, and what this connection feels like, and really anything else that you'd like us to know.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you guys for having me on today. So yeah, I'm a channeler. I channel Druids. I do trance channel work, but I also tap in other ways. And it really happened just as something that needed to happen in my life as coincidence. I was reading tarot cards one day and just happened to channel a guide. And so that was kind of the beginning of, okay, this is an ability I have, a gift. So really working with it and honing it. And then over time, I noticed there was this being that kept following me around who looked like a monk, and I couldn't see his face. And he was pretty nice, didn't bother me, but just was always there. And I realized, all right, I gotta figure out who this guy is. I can't have this energy following me around. And learned he was a Druid and that wanted to work with me. So that opened up a whole nother area of things for me to understand, connect into past lives where I had been a Druid, where I'd done a lot of the work I'm doing in this lifetime before as well. And really just kind of have to decide to embrace this as my life purpose and path to really be able to go on and support people on their journey and their path as well.
Amazing. I mean, if we all could do just that, whatever it looks like, right? And it doesn't even necessarily mean channeling or reading cards or anything, whatever it is, whether it's being a doctor or a lawyer or whatever it is, that would be so powerful and positive for the planet, which of course would be powerful and positive for the energy of Earth, which is part of what we want to talk about today. So, okay, y'all are used to this, right? Like things go sideways over here a lot.
That's why we love you, Angie.
I know, right? And I appreciate it, actually. So what I'm going to say is, because what I'm hearing is that for just a moment, because we are talking about the elements, why don't we just have a little bit of a round robin conversation about elements and how they, seem to fit into our lives and what we think and kind of where we stand with the idea of the elements or what we know about it, so that when we have a really good foundation and framework for when we ask our questions and does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, I've been doing, long before I even realized I had any kind of a connection to the Druids, I've been doing elemental breath work with people forever. And it is so potent and powerful, just this method of connecting to the breath and accessing the elements in that way. That's really kind of the extent of my working with the elements. So that's where I am. But I work with energy of all kinds, so I'm sure it's present in more ways than I actually realize.
Well, let me just drop in here real quick on the tarot thing. You know, the one thing that I really like about tarot is the structure, right? So when I do a tarot reading, I use that structure to kind of help tell the story. One of the overlays of structure over top of tarot is the elements, right? The four minor arcana suits are the water, air, fire, and
Earth.
yes.
Oh yeah, and you do see that in Riley Valentine's decks.
Yeah.
Right.
Like a lot of them.
Right. So that's kind of when I became aware that, oh, the elements are more than just a structure. They're actually, used in metaphysical readings and so on. So that was really interesting to me.
Yeah. Well, and the energy that they provide that so many people don't realize, when you can call on, water to really help you cleanse or to move that through, it's even if you're not with that element, you can still rely on that energy the same way you would call in an angel to help you if you needed something. So in their own right, they're really their own, energy and own set. And then there's all those, I always call them sub energies below it, in water. Then you've got the ocean, you've got rivers, you've got puddles, you've got all these other things. But just that allowance of that and that understanding that they're there to help us just the way, anything else is that we would call on.
And isn't almost every magic spell brings in one or more of the elements, right? There's always water involved. There's always something with earth, maybe burning, lighting a candle. There's your fire. So spells and all kinds of magic are, they use elements all the time.
I saw something the other day that said, and this, I didn't think about it this way, but they said, isn't making soup kind of making a spell? You're using all of the elements, you're putting things in a pot, you're stirring it up. And I was like, I never thought of it that way.
That's awesome. I love that. Next time I make soup, it's going to be like, I'm going to do this in a cauldron.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, it's really, what is it? A victim of the media, right? Magic, the what is that word I'm trying to say? Sensationalized.
Yes.
Right.
They take it over the top and they make it weird and evil.
Right. But, in truth, if you go backwards, and because I have a very good connection to a white witch, Miranda, they were the healers, right? They were the healers. They were the ones that harnessed and worked with the power of the earth. And so soup, to me, that's a really beautiful explanation.
What a nice connection.
And if you think of if oh wow, this is so good. If you think about the picture of it, right? The cauldron, the pot, the bubbling, the boiling, all of that. That cauldron back in those days is what a soup pot would have looked like.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So that is just, can I say that? Oh boy. Some man looking at a situation and being intimidated by it and putting a lens on it that made it so that others were afraid. You never know what's going to come up around here, I got to tell you.
Yeah. But
I'm with Angie. When
you connect that back, we always eat soup when we're sick. What's the first thing you do when you don't feel good? You're like, oh, I want some soup, So there it goes. It came full circle there for us.
Right. And there are things you put in soup that are so healing, right? Herbs. I mean, when they say chicken soup, well, chicken soup for the soul, but Jewish penicillin, right? Chicken soup. But I mean, if you take chicken soup, the histamines that are in the chicken soup, but you start adding things like bay leaves and turmeric, herbs and spices and things, and they enhance or expand the healing properties of the soup. I mean, and it is, right? So you have it all. You have earth, the herbs, you have water, the base, you have air because it can't cook and you can't have fire without air.
Yeah.
So, and you've got fire and then the best, this is my favorite, because this is what I'm hearing, is that, everybody says when you eat food tastes more delicious when it's cooked with love, right? You're making soup for somebody that you love because they don't feel well. To me, that is the element of ether.
Yeah.
Right? Wow, that's amazing.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So the next time, folks, you make a pot of soup for yourself, make sure that you think about all those elements and And don't forget that last one, the love, the element of ether.
Sure.
That's full circle,
Yeah.
and that's got to be healing and
Oh yeah, love heals.
soothing.
Yeah, love heals everything. It is
Everything.
everything. So, yeah, that rounds out your elements.
Wow, that's beautiful. I just love having new guests on.
Yeah.
So
But you never thought we'd talk about soup today.
I know, isn't it amazing how it you just never ever know like what can come up. And the elements. So I've been thinking all week about the elements, and I'm currently looking at new ways to work with the elements, and I'm not really ready quite to put that out there yet, or what that actually looks like, but I'm working on a workshop and a webinar and what have you, because I think that if people could understand a simple way to bring it into their lives, now I'm hearing that maybe we're going to add soup to that workshop. We will see. So it's I mean, this is the beauty of collaboration, is it not? This is what, none of us is an island. None of us belong on a pedestal. We all belong working together, because that's how we bring the light, how we carry the light, and how we expand the light in a time where we need it so badly. So, wow, that's amazing. So, John, I'm going to go ahead and let you ask your question. Or Katie, are you ready for questions?
Yeah, I am. Do you want me to do this interpretively? Is that how we want to do it? So it's more conversational?
What I think we should do whatever works for you. That's
we'll do it.
whatever.
Yeah, I'll tap into them, and if we need them to talk, then I'll pull them through more. But
perfect. That's perfect. So John's got something I know he's dying to know, so I'm ready to let him have it. Or, okay. I don't mean it that way. I'm ready to let him have the microphone. How's that? Go for it.
All right. So prior to my, I guess I'll call it spiritual awakening, my wife and I took a trip to England, to the UK, and we visited Stonehenge, and it was one of the most amazing things I'd ever seen in my life. And both the science and the spiritual side place a great significance on Stonehenge. So I guess my first question is it that significant? I know there's lots of little other Stonehenge-like structures all around the UK, and I also am, told in many different ways that England and Ireland and Scotland and that whole area of the world is a very central place for energy. And so I guess what I want to know is that from a Druid perspective, is that true? And tell me a little bit more about Stonehenge from the Druid perspective.
Yeah. So I'm going to let them tell you this in their words specifically. They're saying I can do it, but I think they're going to do it better. So what I'm getting is the concept of where we live should not be restricted as to where we are, how we were. Because you have where we were in Stonehenge and we were in what you would know as the UK, Ireland, Scotland, all of those areas, there are other energies that are very similar to ours that were in other parts of the world. So yes, you know us to be there, but you knew the Mayans, you knew the Aztecs, those were in other areas of the world as well. And so how we worked was we worked with the elements, we utilized what we could. And through that, being able to utilize each of those, it truly allowed for us to reset what we needed. So the stone circles were all about community. They were all about bringing people together. They were about allowing for us to do what needed to be done. It was for healing. It was for ceremonial. But it was also a place for protection. It was a place for gathering. It was a place where people went. The same way within this day and age, you would have a community center or buildings where people would gather. They were very similar. So yes, when you think of Stonehenge, it was very strong there because some of the most powerful things that we did in working with the earth happened in that place. But there were all of these smaller stone circles that were around that truly allowed for smaller groups that when we broke apart, we could go to where we were from, to our home. So it was just like the building that we had, the connection that we had. But yes, they were very integral in the work we did, in the healing we did, and how we would give thanks and gratitude back to the earth and the elements for the lives that it provided.
Nice.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that is.
That makes sense.
I want to expand on the question.
Me too.
what I wonder, what I see as we speak, is that these stones, these circles,
Yeah.
I believe there may be specific energetic signatures in the earth at the points that they are. Does that make
Well,
sense?
yeah, it does. And I think it's the same way we all leave our energetic imprint where we're at. Each of our homes have our imprint in them, or, wherever you're at in location. But they have a bigger imprint because I think they all came there for how many, centuries. They would go back to those places and really continue to put that there. I mean, what I'm hearing is like the portals of energy that are there, those
That's
imprints.
that's
Mhm.
Is
that's
that
what I
what you're
was
getting
looking
to?
for.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what I was looking for. Like what led them to choose those places, which would probably have been a better way to ask that question.
Yeah, I
So
think, yeah,
the portals or the vortexes are present
exactly. And
in.
I
How
was there.
fun!
Yeah, and I was there as well, and it was so odd. I was there with a group, and it was pouring down rain. And I wanted to sit there and I wanted to meditate, and I brought my journal, and I got there and I turned around and I was like, okay, after a half hour we walked around, I'm like, all right, I'm wet, I'm cold, we're all done. And I heard, you're too connected with that place. So it must be from a past life because I've only been there once. But I think there's many
Wow.
of us that, you're called to a place on earth, you're called to go back. We go back, and when we feel like we're at home again, and I felt that way.
Mm.
So I don't, John, you may have had a similar experience while you were there because you were so
Yeah.
called into it.
Yeah.
So, mhm.
Well, interestingly enough, when you say that, maybe I've told you this before, but I have always had a really, really strong pull to Ireland.
Mhm.
And I don't have family from Ireland that I know of. My family are Scandinavian and Austrian, Bohemian.
Yeah.
So I don't have that, in the family that I knew. But the pull is so powerful. So when we did DNA,
Mhm.
I was so disappointed when I saw that there was no, Irish, Scottish
Yeah.
in there because I was like so sure that it must be there. So to feel the pull of a place that you've never been to and that isn't really a part of your lineage seemed strange to me until we started having these conversations.
Mhm.
Since then, it was Ancestry has updated some, and I do find some Scottish, some Irish, some England, UK, however you want to put it, energy or DNA showing up in my profile. But
Mm.
it's just really interesting that you can feel homesick for a place that you've never been.
Well, I think there's this thought that we all talk about our DNA, our ancestry, and we have our genetic, our physical DNA that we follow back, but no one ever looks at their soul DNA. No one ever says, "Where's my
Not no
soul
one,
come
but
from?"
yes,
Yeah,
you're right.
but I mean, yeah, I mean, in our groups, we would, but
You're
Right.
right.
it's
But
about
that
looking
is
at,
true.
yeah, like what past lives have I had? Where else have I been? I think that is a huge stance because I know myself included, my physical family that I love dearly and I'm glad they're my family. They're not my soul family though.
Right.
I've had lifetimes with them, but not, in ways that I have with other beings that are humans that are out there. And so, I think for people, it's look at that too. See where your past lives draw you to. See where you just want to go. Because that can be really powerful if you start to connect some of that soul energy and DNA back.
I think that's really an interesting thing to look at, soul family, the idea
Yeah.
of
Your
soul
soul lineage.
family. And because I think that might be a hot button for some people,
Mhm.
which is fine. Everybody can have their own way that they feel about it and their own way that they want
Right.
to deal with it. But if people feel out of sorts in their own families, if they feel, I am I'm the perfect example of the rainbow sheep of the family, right? Like perfect example. I don't fit in with any of them really.
Mhm.
Um, and so for a long time that was a source of discomfort or really a source of discomfort. It wasn't until I discovered the concept or even the idea that I could be comfortable with a soul family
Mhm.
that I actually was able to step more into my own. So it's a really important. Yeah, okay, I get it. All right, fine. I'm through. Okay, we'll investigate that further and see where it goes. Anyway, okay, John, I won't take her up the whole time.
No, that's fine. I love this discussion. I guess I have another question about the Druids, and that is, do you have, you said you started out and it was one particular guide on the other side that was a Druid. Did you then get brought in more guides and kind of a whole community? Is it more of a collective channeling, or tell me about that?
Yeah, it's for me, it's more of a collective now. So it just started off with him, and really it was about me, adjusting my vibration to him. He was there as, he's still there as the guide, walks with me. But, it was easier to build a relationship with him, because I think when you channel, you have to have that relationship and that trust, because I do trance channeling. So I'm really letting them utilize my body in a way that I need, to make sure that I am comfortable and that I trust what the energy is. And so as I started doing it more, I noticed that there would be, another Druid that would come through. There's one that's more feminine. There's one that's very ancient. He's just very, very just ancient energy. And so it is a collective now. So, I don't know specifically who's going to come through, but I will notice they'll switch sometimes in the middle of my channeling. A client doesn't notice it, though. I can just feel the energy change. But I think that's good that I'm being able to open up to more of that collective. And the more I channel and the more I work with them, they're allowing me to work, or not allowing me, but also, kind of introducing me to other, energies to channel as well. So I've done the divine feminine at times and kind of those, just to kind of continue to enhance the knowledge and the downloads that I get. And because it's all about just supporting people on their journey, to be able to pass the information on.
So just a quick question on that is your work with clients kind of helping them work through things with the Druids as you're, channeling the help from the other side?
Yeah. So I do channeled sessions. So I'll go in and do a trance session for about an hour. So I can help them there with direct messages. And then there's usually some time for conversation afterwards, where I can kind of talk through, okay, what was said, what was heard. Because I do remember it for about a half hour afterwards. But then I also do some coaching too, which really is 5 weeks of one-on-one with the client, where we're working with the elements, where, I'm tapped into the Druids to be able to get information of, what maybe they should look at. But the coaching is more client-led, because it's about them embracing the elements and embracing the change and the transformation that they need. And it's usually about one topic that they're feeling stuck in. And so that's really powerful, especially, with what you're talking about the elements today. And I know exactly what they're going to go through each week. I know that the first week is earth and its foundation, and they're going to really be set in the mud, and they're really going to know, and they're, really going to say, okay, this is who I am. And then the next week is emotion. So all that's just going to be ripped apart, and they're going to be triggered like crazy. And they're going to, send me an email. I was crying all day today, and here's my journal. And I know, but it's what they need, and then they come out of that and they're in air, and they're like, oh, look at this. So yeah, it's kind of, it's fun to watch that happen and utilize what, the energies we have around us to help people change and transform.
Cool.
I say often that there's nothing better than when the client has that right. But what I wanted to say, I want to go back to just quickly. You start out with one, and what happens is the ability to have more come through, or channel more, or work with more, is about your vibration raising, right? Because the physical body can only tolerate those high vibration beings, for a certain amount of time, right? You have to become adjusted to it. I have guides that I could only work with for, 3, 4, 5 minutes at a time in the beginning. I have energies in I'm a key master instructor energy frequencies that I could only sit in for 4 or 5 minutes at a time until I adjusted. So when you're playing with these, I say playing because to me playing is what it is.
Playing
right?
the energy.
But when you're playing with these high frequencies, as long as your intention is comfortable and appropriate, right? You can only do it for so long, or you start, you have headaches, you have, and we were talking about the concept of crystals and people getting, headaches from crystals and being irritated by crystals, which it's not about the crystal, it's about the person, it's about your vibration, not the crystal, right? Like, don't blame it on the poor crystal. No. but the more that you work with something, the more that you interact with something, the more that can expand. And so I love the idea that, you start out with one and you develop a relationship. And this is how everyone should do this work and approach this work is you start with one, you work with one. And then if it is a group of people, very often I run across people who are part of there are segments of people that are part of a group of 12. I'm not going to take it any further than that at this moment, but you can only work with one at a time. You begin to work with one, and then as you acclimatize to one, then another one comes through, and so you're in this for the long haul, I guess is what I'm trying to say. This is not come and learn with me for a week and I'll show you everything and you can do everything, go from 0 to 60 in one session. That's just not how it works.
Right.
Anyway, that's that.
Yeah.
That's all I got on that one. Like, it's gone now. I love that you said you hold on to it for about 30 minutes. You can remember it for about 30 minutes because I'm lucky if I get 30 minutes.
Oh yeah. It's getting shorter the more I channel and the more, but I find it's helpful because when I do channel, the messages are so deep and they're so strong and they talk so fast that even though I'll give a client a recording too, it's like, okay, let me try to humanize some of this. Like, let's connect this to what's, going on in your daily life and at least, let you pick up some things. And so, yeah, it's nice that I have that ability to do that with clients, but then I'm really happy that it's gone because it's not mine. I don't want to keep it. I don't.
No, right. You couldn't carry all that around, but it is interesting because I've had people come back to me and, like, oh, remember last week when you said, yeah, no, I really don't. No, I don't actually remember that.
Yeah.
Okay, let me ask you something on that then. Do you ever do any channeling that is more general in nature that you want to kind of like maybe put into a book or
I heard book before you said it, John.
I know. You know where I'm going. I have a tool I'm working on that's really cool, but it sounds like that you could also be channeling more general information that you could spread broad and wide. Yes.
Yes. So part of what I have is I know I'm going to write several books. I've started books. I just haven't finished them. I think I just haven't had the calling yet from them to say, all right, let's do this. But I do put general messages out there. Yeah, I have a YouTube channel and I have a website where I'll put, different videos out or writings that I do out just to say, hey, here's messages about different topics. And I have a series out there called Ask the Druids, which Angie was a guest on, where basically I'm channeling about a topic or having a conversation with someone about a topic. So yeah, you can definitely find some of it there about different.
Okay, great. That's good. So you do both that and the client work.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, I do both. I do a lot of teaching too. If someone calls me and says, hey, have you ever thought about doing this? A lot of times I'm like, oh, no, but let me think about it. Can I? So, which is nice. I'm very nimble in the work I do because it's about letting people get the assistance they need and the support they need to move forward, So as I worked in corporate long enough, in professional development, everybody learns differently. Everyone needs a different way. You and I can say the exact same thing and 3 different people are going to hear it very differently. So,
absolutely.
So I'm always like, yeah, if I can adjust or change based on what someone needs or what they think they need, and it resonates with me and it matches what I need, then it's like, yeah, I'm happy to kind of adjust around.
And it keeps it fresh too, right? Yeah. That was one thing about, because I discovered, because I started out with the mindset of being, an energy worker, and by that I mean like a Reiki practitioner or, an energy practitioner on set, on the table, hands-ish, hands-on sessions, because in Illinois we're not allowed to touch unless you're a massage therapist. Energy sessions, just like that. That's what I thought I was building. And the truth of the matter is that I got to a point where I would be doing a session, with my hands on shoulders or whatever, and I would look at the clock and 5 minutes would have gone by, and I felt like I was doing it for an hour already. So I had to say to myself, this might not quite be exactly what I thought, what I thought I had in mind. So I think it's really great and important to be able to embrace and try different things and try to work in different ways. I have people I work with and a particular client that I've been working with for nearly 3 years every week. And she actually hit the state of flow a couple of weeks ago, like legit flow, which was amazing to feel. And that's what's fun. You watch and you see and you can feel the energy shift and you can touch it and it's visceral, and that I love that. I love what to do, to do that. So, you just never know when you're connecting with the energy, what's going to come your way. And you're going to interpret it differently based on your filter, and your filter is going to change based on your experiences and your age and your life and what's going on around you and the people that you surround yourself with. Look, I'm pointing at you. You can't tell this is a weird thing, but
so question on you mentioned using other tools and experimenting. Katie, do you still use tarot, or was that kind of a starting point that you don't need anymore?
I still use it, but not as much with clients anymore. Okay. It was really a starting point. And what I was told was that they had to give me something tangible to be able to trust myself and to believe in what was happening. And so I still have my tarot cards. I even learned how to read a different style of deck called Lenormand cards.
Oh, cool. I'm working on that.
Okay. Yeah. I had a friend sit me down and she's like, all right, you're going to learn these. And I was like, this is so like, they're a lot easier for my brain to
totally different than tarot.
Yeah, they're very different. But yeah, so like sometimes I'll pick them up. I do portal work with people, I'm certified in Jaikin and Reiki. So I kind of mix all of the different things that I know sometimes.
Yep.
And usually the Druids are telling me if I'm working with a client or if I'm talking with someone about, a class I'm going to teach or, being a speaker somewhere, it's like, okay, no, bring up this and this and this and this, or meld it like this. And I just kind of trust that they're going to lead me to what it needs to be, and it's going to be right for the people that are there.
Sweet.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's flow, my dear. Yeah, that's flow.
That's how I try to live life, but in a flow with just openly allowing things. The thing I've learned recently is kept putting parameters on things. I was open, but it had to look this way. It had to be this way. It had to come this particular way. And now I'm just like, no, I'm taking everything out of a box. I'm just saying, this is what I'd like. I don't care how it comes, what it looks like, what it needs. It's like, and I'm shocked at how it's opened it up even more.
And isn't it interesting when you do that, how you say, this is what I would like. And then you wind up, because you're so open, getting a bigger, rounder, better version of whatever that thing is than you could possibly have imagined, which of course is, John, as you'll recognize, surrender, right? Yep. Remember, visualize, align, surrender. That is surrender.
Yeah.
Figure out what you want, right? Take action in alignment with whatever it is, and then step back, surrender. And I just love how it, okay, folks, I got the message. Like, I've been getting this message that this is what I need to teach for years. Okay, this is the third time it came up today, so I'm getting it, right? I don't need a brick wall to fall on me.
Yeah.
Anyway, wow, look how fast this time went by.
I know. Katie, let me ask you one question about kind of where we are in the world right now. It does feel like we are headed somewhere big. Things are shifting. It feels like a lot of energy right now is shifting. Many, many more people. Well, I guess I'm kind of meeting them on purpose, but I am meeting many more people into energy, and it feels like it's gaining momentum and acceptance.
Yeah.
What have you channeled along those lines?
Yeah. So they really do talk about this big shift and change coming in. We all know about, moving in dimensions, we're shifting vibrations, we're shifting energy patterns, and the earth is really feeling that. So as we're all doing it, the earth itself, the energy of the earth is shifting that as well. And so, they're from what they've told me is that as we get really ready to come in to this new transformation, this new alignment, this new paradigm of what earth is, what is the reason that we incarnate, how can we expand in incarnation, that we are going to notice things very differently. And I look at it myself as I'm really excited to be here on earth at this time to experience in a physical way versus just within the spiritual world. And so what I would tell people and what I've told them is just really, just as you're sitting there and allowing things to come in, just know that things are going to shift. We're not going to be the same as we were last week, last month, or last year, but just allow for those things to come in. And just when the universe is showing you what you need to do differently or how things need to shift, just allow for that. Because when you can trust in what is shifting and what is happening, whether it's, you get fired from your job, and then a new job pops up, you're like, well, I don't want to do that. That's never what I've done before. It's like, well, maybe you're going to enjoy it even more. Maybe it was the best move for you. Or maybe you're there for 3 weeks, you meet, someone, your boss is like, hey, I think you'd be great in this position. And that's your dream job. Like, you never know what'll change or what will come in. But just really be open. And I think the more we can get out of our own way with our preconceived notions, our judgments, and all of that, that will really help us expand even more, because we're seeing it with the physical earth. We're seeing that, the glaciers are melting. We're seeing more rain in places, droughts in places there shouldn't be places. I mean, Mother Earth is shifting everything. She's realigning what she needs. And so we need to look at that in our own lives too, but still respect what she needs and just allow for this change to come in. Because when we get on the other side of it, which I have been told we'll see in our lifetime, it's going to be really, really cool of how it looks and how it feels. Yeah.
Good. That was my next question. So good on you.
Well, I think that that's really an important part to get to when you're answering that question, because there are so many people, channelers included, that want to say that it's going to be, when you say these words, that it's going to look nothing like what it looks like right now, people's minds go to, oh my God, it's going to be dark. It's going to be, I am, whatever that robot movie is with Will, or whatever. And I don't get that sense at all. I don't feel that. I don't see it. And the more people you can convince to step, oh, fine. That's why surrender is so important. Hello. Like it's like just dropped in, just like that.
But it's coming in that as these things are coming, it's more than just a surrender. It's all about taking the action to move yourself forward.
Well, no, right. Visualize, align, surrender.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. But it's like making those, and even at that, because I'm gonna take you one step forward on this, Angie, which I've learned is that when I used to be a big surrender person, and when you can take surrender one step forward, that you're visualizing your alignment, you're surrendering, you're saying, okay, universe, handle this. But it's also not saying I'm going to sit on the couch and just let it come. You're moving forward for your dreams and stuff. Okay, maybe we're saying the same thing.
Right. Align is action.
Yeah.
Align is action.
Yeah.
There is no poof.
Yeah.
John will tell you how often I say that.
Yeah.
There is no
Probably
poof.
once
You
per show.
have to take the action. But the point is that there's also this concept that, because there's a lot of people out there who feel like they want to be a light worker, who they want to walk in the light, they want to do something positive for the earth. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to do. They don't have the resources, whatever it may be. And so the really, really great, strong message is that no matter what, you spread the light by walking in it.
Yeah. You have to live it. Yeah. If you don't live it.
You have to live it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the same way that I see people. I talk a lot of people about their authenticity. And this was a question that really shocked me earlier this year, where I was working with the shaman and he goes, but who are you? And I gave him the, I'm a channel on this. He's like, no, I don't care about what you are. Who are you?
Wow.
And that was a question that really threw me for a loop. And I was like, wow, I need to figure that out, because I see so many people, and I did this as well, where we put up these personas of what we want people to see, you know, our family, our friends at work, you know, what is expected. And it was like, no, I need them to see the authentic part of me and down to my core of who I am. And so I think that's part of, you know, when you're saying, you know, surrender and just allow, it's like, let that come through. Just show you who you are. You know, you don't have to put on this persona for people to like you of, oh, I live in the light. It's like, just your energy will give that to you.
And it does.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I know when I come across somebody who walks in the light. I
Yeah.
know it. And I also know when I come across somebody whose filter is clogged and crowded with fear. And
Right.
I know when I come across somebody who is part of the collaboration. And I know when I come across somebody that no matter what they say is an isolationist, right?
Yeah.
Like, so all you have to do is listen, really.
Exactly.
And you can sense those things.
Yep.
You know, and then get your energy in line so you don't knock out the street lights and stuff. I'm just saying. But that's all about energetic balance, right?
Yeah.
Managing your frequency, managing your own energy. The more balance you have, the more you work with the energy, the more you are able to, because intuition, let's face it, is how you connect to, receive, and interpret energy. It is interpreting energy. So if you don't have a clear filter, you're not going to get a clear interpretation. That just is what it is. Like, there's no other way to look at that.
Yeah.
Because that interpretation, you have to have that. You have a physical body that is not meant, you know, it's like trying to plug in a hairdryer in the UK when when it came from the United States.
Poof.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Anyway, or the third try on the USB thing. Why does it always take 3 tries to plug in the USB? I don't get it. Like, there's only 2 sides, but I
We're
mean,
building it into the collective consciousness.
Yeah.
Turn in there.
Anyway, wow. So I was thinking, maybe because we're really closing in on running out of time here, maybe Katie, you'd come back and we can talk about Lenormand.
I'd love to. Yeah.
Or Lenormand, however you say it.
Yeah.
You know, if you listen to the French people, it's one thing.
Lenormand.
I have the deck. I haven't really played with it yet. John is working on it, and it sounds like, you know, so we might be in
book once.
You what?
I said I've gone through my book once, so I have a basic understanding.
Yeah, I am not an expert, but I can share with you what I know about it and what I've taught.
It would be great fun, right? We all get our, because I have the deck.
That's a great idea. We'll all bring our decks.
We'll all get our decks and we'll all kind of play and see how it goes. And I think that would be great fun.
Yeah.
And the people that listen to us love all different kind of crazy things. So you know, we have actually a segment that we call Tarot Time. So this would be a whole episode focusing on a different way of reading the cards, and which has been around for a very long time, has it not?
I don't know anything about it.
About, I think, 1500s, maybe 16. No, wait, it's a little bit later than that. 18s, maybe 17 or 18.
So he has it. Like, if you need to know anything about a book, John.
I'm the reader here.
No, don't make it sound like I don't like to read. I love to read. I just don't like to read what you read.
That's cool.
But that's why you're friends then. He can tell you about what he read and you can tell me what you read and everything will work out, right?
That's exactly right.
That's what we do.
Right. So anyway, wow. Okay, so I'm going to put this back up here again just so you see her name, Katherine Flynn. We call her Katie, and this is her YouTube channel, The Channeled Source. And your website is The Channeled Source?
Yep, thechanneledsource.com. So it's all there. My Facebook, my Instagram, it's all under The Channeled Source. So.
Well, there you go. So people can find you. They could do a reading. They can listen to your Ask the Druids segments, which are really a lot of fun to listen to.
Good. I'll listen to
They can click subscribe, and while they're at it, they can click subscribe to our channel and click that like button, share it, all those good things.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh,
we really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I can't wait. We'll figure out the logistics, and we'll schedule this Lenormand, however you say it.
Yeah.
Tarot, I don't know. I pronounce it all 17 different ways, all in the same show.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. Well, thank you all so much for listening. We're so grateful that you stayed on this long, and we will talk to you next for tarot time, and then we'll see you next week. Thank you so much.